It's a pregame edition of the show. Spencer, German, and Anthony Moeglin with you guys. Here's the Browns get ready to battle the Ravens in a hotly contested division matchup, an important one. Both teams looking to avoid starting 0-2 this season. And we know all the things that are sort of surrounding this game, the 30th celebration for the Ravens, the fact that Joe Flacco is making a long-awaited return to Baltimore for the first time in his career since he was traded back in 2019. And all the other things that sort of surround this matchup just in general. Quinshon Judkins going to make his first appearance, and we'll talk about all those things here with you. But getting ready for kickoff, Megs, and certainly feels like this one's an important one for both teams in a lot of ways. I guess let's start with the Quinshon part of this. What impact are you expecting him to have now that we know he was activated to the active roster, moved on from Gage Larvidan to create room? I'm guessing they'll probably try to add him back to the practice squad for what it's worth. But how big of an impact do you expect Quinshon Judkins to have today?
Yeah, I'm not sure the how big this impact can be because he just started playing football again after having 2 months off this week, so there's a lot of there's a ramping up period that needs to happen, and he's going to be playing in an NFL game now against one of the better teams in the NFL against a decent defense. So I'm not expecting all that much from him. However, pre-game or pre-show here, you and I were chatting. Maybe it is, a couple spot situations, maybe down in the low red zone, or maybe in thirds and shorts or second and shorts, where it's just like, hey, he's on the field. Maybe it's an easy pass protection for him, or maybe it's an easy run play for him that's just not too complicated, gets him the football, gets him a couple hits. But I'm not expecting anything more than, even if he got to 10 carries, I would be shocked if it got that high. So not expecting a huge impact, but definitely getting kind of wetting the beak, if you will.
I actually think he could get to 10 carries from what's sort of been reported. And I think this is probably how we described it late in the week. We talked about it. I feel like he's going to sort of be used in like a running back 2 role, where he's not the first guy out there, but maybe he's in there on the second drive. And then maybe it's a slow build where he's gaining momentum, he's picking up things, he's okay. And then they put a little bit more on his plate as the game kind of goes on. Mm-hmm. We were talking before the show, I put together sort of a same game parlay here, and I have him for an anytime touchdown. So I'm sort of anticipating the same thing you are, that maybe they get down in the red area and they're like, all right, here's a good place to use Quinshon. We know he's a power runner, and they give him the ball and see if he can punch it in. So I'm anticipating something like that. But yeah, I just think I think it's a good place. I think it's a good place for him to sort of be in his first start, get out there, get his feet wet, start sort of getting acclimated. And if it goes well, maybe we see in the fourth quarter he is being used more than they anticipated. But it does feel like they're kind of going in with a plan to utilize him in sort of a running back 2 role. And it could, there's the possibility that it becomes more if he has success.
I didn't even think of that. I think that's a really good point too. Like, hey, if it's going well and he's seeing it well and he's taking hits well, like all that stuff, like maybe in the second half, he is more that featured guy where, they can continue to kind of teach him on the fly what he's got to do. But also if he looks the part and feels comfortable out there, get him out there more. They definitely need it. They need a jolt in the run game. And this is going to be a welcome addition.
Other availability updates. I know Jack Conklin has been seen pregame. Warming up, he has a wrap on his elbow. That was kind of a weird thing that popped up late in the week. I think initially I thought it was the eye that had him questionable, but they said his eye is fine. It's the elbow now. And I do think we'll see if he plays, but I do think, fans probably see Jack Conklin injury questionable, and they collectively kind of roll their eyes at this point. Unfortunately, he just hasn't been able to stay healthy throughout his career. Hopefully he's out there today because this line group is better with him. But yeah, certainly, if he can't go, I thought that Cornelius Lucas did a pretty good job in week 1, sort of holding his own and creating opportunities to the best of his ability. But you'd obviously prefer to have Jack Conklin out there.
Yeah, there's no question about it, but it does feel – I had a very similar feeling when he popped up later in the week, it was like, oh, come on. Like, he's just had such a tough time staying healthy. And even last week during the game, like, could have used him out there, and he had the freak eye injury, right? And he ended up coming back or didn't come back in the game from it, but, feels better now. Just unfortunate that he got hurt. We'll see if he's able to go. But, the difference between he and Cornelius Lucas, unfortunately, at this point for Conklin is marginal at best. And so, whoever's out there, the Browns are going to roll with and try to make it happen today, because it'll be a fun one.
Yeah, and I do think the run game is going to be massively important in this matchup, both from a standpoint of like the offensive line generating some holes in the running backs, being able to maximize those, because part of my sort of philosophy and how you win this game, Megs, is having some of these long methodical drives, right? Like, don't give Lamar Jackson less opportunities with the ball than more, and shorten the game, shorten the clock, all those things. And so to do that, you need to put together long drives. You don't want these just like, I do think they're going to take some deep shots today. I think there's going to be some opportunities for that. This Ravens secondary was absolutely scorched by Josh Allen last week. So I think they're going to try to exploit it to that in some ways. But you don't want just like the quick shots downfield. Mm-hmm. You want there to be more of this, like, let's march up and down the field and make some things happen, and then finish these drives with points. And so having a strong run game that can effectively help those causes and keep you ahead of the sticks is part of that equation. So the run game has to be effective, but I do think that's part of the strategy today to beat this Ravens team, is have longer drives like we saw in week 1, take the ball out of Lamar's hands, and then obviously play good defense, tackle soundly, and try to limit the damage on his side of things, because he's so gifted that he can take over a game all on his own.
Yeah, I remember, you go back just 1 week ago and Cleveland's opening drive of the game, 16 plays, 67 yards, and a touch-down. Like,
and it took off it was 950 that they ate off the
950.
Like, that's insane.
Yeah, 950. And then their next well, Spence, look at this. I mean, all of their scoring drives, each of their 3 scoring drives was 16 plays, 67 yards. And then they had a field goal on an 11-play, 51-yard drive that lasted 4 minutes. And then they had a touchdown on a 13-play, 69-yard drive that lasted 7 minutes, 40 seconds. So right there, that's 17 minutes just in their 3 scoring drives. That's you're getting up there. That's a quarter of the game. You possess the ball for over a quarter of the game in all of your scoring drives. So, if that's the formula they take to really shrink this thing down, I think that's going to be kind of the avenue. And I talked about it as well. Like, styles, I said it on Sunday or whatever day we recorded, like, styles are going to make this fight. And this isn't, I'm not expecting it to look like the Buffalo game, because,
no,
the Ravens and Buffalo got into a track meet because they could run a track meet. Like, you're not getting into that. The Browns aren't going to let that happen. And the more they can shrink this game down, the better Browns fans should feel about the potential outcome.
Yeah, I agree. Well, speaking of the potential outcome, you and I have our predictions ready. We wrote about this over on roundtable.io/sports NFL or /NFL/Browns. But we always like to give you an audio.
That link is going to get shrunk. Hey, that link's going to get shrunk here soon, by the way.
Oh, is it? Did they say they confirm that?
Yes, that link's going to get shrunk down. I don't know what it's going to be shrunk to, but it is going to be shrunk down.
Well, that's good, because
that's
it's a mouthful, and we want people to be able to access us a little quicker and easier. So that's great news. Yeah, good to know. Good insight. Some breaking news here on the pod.
Breaking news.
But Megs, I'll let you go first per usual. What is your prediction for the game? You did pick the Bengals to win last week, and you were right. How you feeling about this?
Do I get credit for winning? Because I said, what did I have? I was way off on the score, but I did pick the Bengals to win. I don't know how. Do I even get credit for that?
I think we just keep track along the way of who picked who, and we can.
All right, I'm 1-0. All right, I'm taking it. I'm 1-0 and that's a good sign, because this week I got Browns 24, Ravens 23. I think it's similar to how it felt last year. Was that last year? Was that 2023 when the weird Deshaun game? That was 2 years ago.
The weird Deshaun game was 2023, yeah.
2023 with the pick 6 and all that stuff. I think it's going to be fluke, or it's going to be stuff. It's going to be weird like that one, like 11.5-point dogs. Browns obviously all week long have kind of spewed a little bit of confidence. We got Grant Delpit saying Derrick Henry's not hard to tackle. Jerry Jeudy answering your question saying, the Baltimore Ravens don't really present many challenges in the secondary, all sorts of stuff. They're doing the 30th anniversary, Joe Flacco's return. Like, this has got storylines everywhere. And I do think that Cleveland's absolutely going to keep this thing close for sure. And then I do think that I believe in my write-up, I predicted an Andre Schmidt game winner after last week's game loser. I have him hitting a winner today. Browns get out of town 24-23, move to 1-1, and move the Ravens to 0-2 2 weeks into the season.
Yeah, I like the confidence there. I don't know if I like the confidence in Andre Schmidt because I think a lot of people are.
I'm back, baby.
You're being extra bold with the game-winning field goal prediction. I'm saying 27-20 Ravens. This just feels like one of those. Listen, I picked the Browns last week and I was wrong. I got to go back and sort of be smart about this next one because the Ravens are a very, very good team. We know that. This feels like one of those games where the Browns can keep it close for a while, but then the Ravens, because they have more talent, are able to pull it out at the end. Like, I don't know if it's going to be like a game-winning drive or something of that nature where they just, they get over that hump and they score a touchdown to take the lead and they win. Something along those lines, though, kind of feels like it could be how it goes down. I think they cover. I think that 11.5-point spread is so massive. I think that's just disrespect to how people think this Browns team is. I think their defense can keep it close. I think the offense can do some things to keep it interesting, but I think the Ravens are just too talented in the end to be beaten in this instance. And I think they eke it out 27-20. But the Browns put up quite the fight, and that's where I'm leaving my prediction for today. So
yeah, I love it. It's going to be a fun game, right? Like, that's the one thing that I'm going to stick on is that it's not an 11-point spread. Like, I do think it's much closer than that. I think the Browns proved that last week. Like, the Browns defense is going to be tough. We've talked about it all throughout camp, and I think you'll see it today. It's really going to come to life. Like, they did shut down Joe Burrow on that offense last week. They are slow starters, but 7 yards, I don't care who you're playing, like, giving up 7 yards in one half is like crazy work. That is insane work. And that's a mark of a really good defense. Now, they got to do it again today, another tough challenge, but I do think that it's going to be a coming out party of sorts for this defense to show the whole world that, hey, last week, not a fluke, did it again this week against Lamar and the Ravens. And I think they keep this thing close.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, I think if you get out of there and you only lose by 7 and you keep it within that spread, people will be, I want to say, happy. I think moral victories are more for fans than the players, but I think fans will be like, okay, we made it interesting. I will say, though, if they pull off the upset, as you're predicting, Megs, fans are going to be ecstatic that they spoiled this 30th birthday party thing that they're doing for being around for 30 years right in front of the team that they stole. So we'll see if they can get it done. We will react to it on the other side, whatever is to come here in the next 6 hours, 5 hours or so once the game kicks off. Make sure you keep following along. Again, roundtable.io/sports/NFL/Browns, which is a mouthful that will be reduced here soon. We found out from Meggs this morning, but also at the YouTube channel here, Cleveland Browns Roundtable, where you can find more content like this, both pre and post game and much, much more. So appreciate you guys stopping by pregame. We'll talk to you post game. For Anthony Moeglin, I'm Spencer German. Keep on following along with all things Cleveland Browns with Cleveland Browns Roundtable.